So anyone who knows me knows that I am a huge food person. Like most of my day revolves around what I'm going to be eating. So in order to stay on kind of track of everything, and that's not just health and fitness, just in life and just feeling like I have structure to my day, meal planning is a huge thing for me, and it's something that I put as a huge focus to a lot of my clients too. So I've narrowed it down to like the top 5 that really kind of matter if you're just starting out, or if like meal planning isn't kind of second nature to you. But I might do another video with the other kind of tips if it becomes something that you guys want. So let's get into it. Number 1, biggest tip to do is check what you have already in the cupboards. There is nothing worse than going shopping or writing a list of like meals that you want, going shopping, coming back, and then realize you already have everything in the cupboard to make it. Not only is it just a huge waste of money, I know most things in cupboards stay, but like coming back and realizing you already had a whole thing of mushrooms and you just bought a thing of mushrooms, or buying, I don't know, carrots when you already had green beans and you could have just switched them out. So check what you already have in the cupboard, fridge, freezer. I pretty much already know what I have, but occasionally what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll write down everything. I'll just do a huge inventory of what I have, and then I'll choose meals based off of that. Coming into number 2, think of meals that use those things, but also meals that you enjoy. So something maybe you haven't cooked in a while, something you saw and you were like, oh, I'd like to try that. Each week try and have something new or different. The reason for this is to stop you from having takeaways. So the biggest thing with meal prepping is people get bored of it, people cook the same thing, and then they're like, oh, I fancy something different, let's just order in. Like I know I've been there a million times, like especially throughout lockdown. So making sure that even if there's a meal, like we make pretty much a lasagna every week or a shepherd's cottage pie, whichever one I've got around, and even though I love that meal and I really enjoy it, if I was gonna have that every week for every meal, I'd be pretty bored. So making sure that one week you have something different. I call it fakeaways in a way. So we try and make something that you would buy at a restaurant. So recently we've done like Indian, we've done Nando's quite a bit. We've been making this prawn linguine recently, which is so good. And yeah, I've got tons that I want to be trying, but just making sure there's something that you would buy if you went to a restaurant. If you're going to go for a takeaway, like what would you have? Like once a month, do like a pizza night, or something where you have to like really get your hands stuck in and try something different. And number 3, look through recipe books. So I provide my clients with a ton of recipes every single month. They have obviously a store of those. What I would recommend you doing is going through either the recipe books you have, going through an online recipe book, seeing what you can get from like family, friends. Ask like everyone in your family for a go-to recipe, trying them out, and then if you like it, keep it. Either I have loads on my phone, you could use Notion like I do for everything and just put that recipes tab into it. Saved posts on Instagram are a big one. I've only just started doing this, but you can save posts, and then if you go to where your saved posts are, you can create a little collection, so like kind of like a Pinterest board, and then come through that. So when I'm looking for inspiration for stuff, I can just kind of flick through that and choose something that I enjoy or something that I've looked at and being like, oh, that would be quite nice to have, because it's so easy to get stuck into kind of the same routine and eating the same foods. Just yeah, really try and expand kind of your repertoire. It's so easy to sit and be like, I don't know what to cook tonight. There's so much food in the world. Like, go through some recipes. I'll quite often go on to BBC Good Food and I'll just literally just scroll through top recipes. I did that in the summer and ended up baking like a chicken and mushroom pie, which I would never normally have made. Yeah, you get the picture. Just scroll through recipes and find stuff that you like. And then from those recipes as well, like go through what you have in the cupboard. So like you might not think, say you've got, I'm trying to think, like I was gonna say a lasagna sheets, but that's a really bad example. So for now, right now, we had our odd box delivered last week, and we have loads of sweet potatoes and loads of turnips or parsnips. So rather than trying to find a specific recipe for those, tonight when we have our leftover lasagna, which is from the freezer, I'm actually gonna just chop it up, put it in the air fryer and just have it as a side. I could have had potato, I could have gone out and got something specific for it, but instead I'm going to use what I've got and actually just use those things to put it into a meal. So don't be afraid to try new things. We always keep our frozen vegetables in the freezer, but where possible I will just try and use up what we got from our odd box rather than pairing specific vegetables to specific meals. Same goes for putting into like a bolognese or like a chicken pasta. If the recipe says you need onions and peppers but you only have mushrooms and celery, like just mix it up. Like it's all pretty much the same thing. In terms of taste, it's not going to be that different, and it's all gonna just add towards your fibre and your nutrients count. That's that. On to number 4, setting some time to kind of cook ahead once a week. So on a Sunday we'll generally put something in the slow cooker for the week, usually like a bolognese mix or something, and in that, making sure you have extra portions to put in the freezer for 1 week a month where you don't have to cook. You could do it a different way. I used to do it so that I cooked every 2 weeks, so that I cooked, say, the first week, and then I'd make sure I had enough for that week and the week after. But for now, because I am actually really enjoying cooking and we have a little more time, I just tend to have like an extra portion every kind of 2 or 3 weeks. So this week I haven't had to do a huge meal prep, so we just are going to kind of recycle our meals. And we've got a lasagna tonight and a bolognese tomorrow night, so I just need to cook some like extra pasta or air fry some potatoes or something like that. Yeah, so prepping, making sure that you've got everything ready there. Number 5, how to kind of structure your meals. I feel like this is the one that people get stuck on the most. Start with the protein. So something that I do a lot is I do every time is I split the mince portion in half. So I do 500 grams of mince and then 200 grams of lentils, and that gets my protein and my fibre up, and it means I don't have to worry about adding extra protein or extra fibre into the meal because it's already there. Whereas if I just use the mince, 1, I'd be using more meat, and 2, I wouldn't have the fibre. So trying to figure out how you can get all your protein in sustainably and with a way that works for you. Next thing goes on to the fibre, because I am a huge fan of protein and fibre being kind of the main nutrients you look at. Obviously if your goals are different, you might have a slightly different way of looking at it, so you can adapt it for you, but making sure that fibre you're looking at next. So in terms of your veg, your beans, your lentils, like whatever you need to do to make that meal increase in the fibre department and make sure you're hitting your goal for the day. If you're unsure of what that is, just making sure a good guide to kind of go by is like 5 to 7 fruits or veg a day, and then counting like 1 thing of lentils or beans per day, making sure that you're having a variety so that you're getting all of your veg and all your micronutrients, and just, yeah, being sensible about it really. That's kind of where, for me, frozen veg comes in handy, as well as having a lot of berries and kind of fruit stuff available for breakfast meals. But just making sure that you put the things in place to make sure you have it so that you can kind of have your protein portion, fill half your plate with kind of veg, that's my big go-to, and then you can fill in the gaps with your carbs and your fats. Most of the time your fats will already be in the other meals that you make, especially if you're cooking like kind of different types of protein and you're putting stuff into it. Occasionally you'll need to add things like nuts, seeds, avocado oils, or whatever you fancy, but you can just fill it up with your carbs and your fats afterwards, because they're the things that kind of doesn't really matter on kind of portions, and yeah, they're quite easy to kind of, in my opinion, to get in. Most people are falling back on fibre and protein, and it's the fibre and the protein that's really going to help you stay fuller for longer, get the most out of your meals, and just really have a wholesome diet. But yeah, that was my 5 tips. Always get to the end of the videos and be like, I'm done now. But yeah, that was the 5 tips. Hope they helped slightly. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Otherwise, have a fabulous rest of the day, and I'll see you all soon.